Welcome to the Professional and Vocational Licensing Virtual Board Meeting.
When the meeting begins momentarily, the chair will take a roll call, explain any specific rules for this particular board, and then move to public comment. The name of the board member will appear on the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. For instance, this is board member Y, and this is board member E. Public testimony will be accepted at the beginning of the meeting and before each agenda item. You can indicate that you are ready to testify by clicking on the Raise Hand button being circled by the mouse on your screen now. At the appropriate time, the board will recognize you to speak and ask you to unmute your mic as shown here. Again, public testimony will be accepted at the beginning of the meeting and before each agenda item. Public attendees will not be able to unmute their microphone until recognized by the board. Public attendees who are recognized to testify will be asked to identify themselves by name and their affiliated organization if applicable. Please mute your microphone when you are finished speaking as a courtesy to others and members of the board. Public attendees will not be able to unmute themselves after the testimony is completed unless recognized again after raising their hand. At some point during the meeting, the board may choose to move into executive session. When the board moves into executive session, the board members' microphones and video feeds will be turned off, and a similar screen as you see now will be displayed. When the board returns from executive session, their microphones will be turned on as well as their video cameras.
Welcome again to the Professional and Vocational Licensing Virtual Board Meeting.
At this time, the chair will call the meeting to order and take a roll call, as well as explain any additional rules that may be specific to this board.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Thanks, friends. Hi, welcome to the Board of Nursing meeting for, I think, April. Before we get started, I'm going to read some information about accessing virtual meetings. Also a reminder, if you wish to provide written testimony on any agenda item to a Board of Nursing meeting, please submit your testimony to nursing@dcca.hawaii.gov or by hard copy to the address listed on the agenda. We request submission of testimony at least 24 hours prior to the meeting to ensure that it can be distributed to board members. Regarding virtual meetings, if you are attending this meeting to view the meeting and provide live oral testimony online, please use the link at the top of the agenda. You will be asked to enter your name. The board requests that you enter your full name, but you may use a pseudonym or other identifier if you wish to remain anonymous. You will also be asked for an email address. You may fill in this field with any entry in a standard email format. Your microphone will be automatically muted. When the chair asks for public testimony, you may click the raise hand button found on your Zoom screen to indicate that you wish to testify about that agenda item. The chair will individually enable each testifier to unmute their microphone. When recognized by the chair, please unmute your microphone before speaking and mute your microphone after you finish speaking. If you are attending the meeting, audio only access by phone. When the chairperson asks for public testimony, you may indicate that you want to testify by entering star and then 9 on your telephone's keypad. After entering star and then 9, a voice prompt will let you know that the host of the meeting has been notified. When recognized by the chair, you may unmute yourself by pressing star and then 6 on your phone. A voice prompt will let you know that you are unmuted. Once you finish speaking, please enter star and then 6 again to mute yourself. For both phone and internet access, when testifying, you will be asked to identify yourself and the organization, if any, that you represent. Each testifier will be limited to 5 minutes of testimony per agenda item. Also, if the connection to the meeting is lost for more than 30 minutes, the meeting will be continued on a specified date and time. The information for the rescheduled meeting will be posted to the board's website. And instructions to attend State of Hawaii virtual board meetings is available online. Okay, at this time, I'm going to take a roll call of board members. We're all present in person today. Woohoo! All right, my name is Carrie Oliver. I'm the chair. I am present. Jill Riggs.
Present.
Karen Boyer.
Present.
Sherry Shields.
Present.
Bradley Kuo.
Present.
And Terrence Artani. We are here. We have a quorum. Meeting is officially called to order. Woohoo! Okay. All right, chair's report. That's me. I want to congratulate board member Bradley Kuo for being recognized in Pacific Business News as one of the best small businesses to work at in Hawaii. Wellness Partners Hawaii Incorporated. Woo-hoo! Thank you, Bradley Kuo, for being a great place for nurses to work. We appreciate that and your contribution to the workforce. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Also, next, we're gonna move to the approval of minutes. Am I crazy? We just have the open session minutes, right? Is that true? Okay, I'm not crazy. All right, at this time, does anybody have any changes or edits they need to make to the open session minutes for the March 7th meeting of the Board of Nursing? Seeing none, is there a motion to accept the minutes as circulated?
So moved. This is Bradley, sorry.
Thank you, Bradley. Is there a second?
Karen seconds.
Thank you, Karen. Does any board member wish to vote nay, recuse themselves, or abstain from voting on that motion? Seeing none, hearing none, the ayes have it, the motion carries. Okay. And the approval of the executive session minutes for that meeting will be deferred to a subsequent meeting. Okay, our next agenda item, I'm going to hand things over to Karen Boyer, who is going to provide us a couple of reports. First, her attendance at the NCSBN mid-year meeting, as well as the Education Committee's report from March.
I'll begin with the NCSBN mid-year meeting, which was March 11th through about half day on the 14th in Atlanta, Georgia. The first day was the compact, addressing the compact, and Fred Knight from Arkansas updated some of the articles that they're working on, mostly to strengthen the language that the nurse has 60 days when he or she moves residences. They need to establish their home state license in the state that they now live. They're trying to strengthen that language and and I think educate the nurses a little bit more with that. They are also trying to strengthen the language within the compact for those that are under investigation or the process for criminal background check. And so that between states, it's a little more clear or the communication is more timely and improved with respect to that. So some of the concerns that the board has shared with the compact. The second day for EOs and presidents, I was allowed to attend because I think I was the only member there, was the focus was reimagining discipline. Just going to take 1 minute on this. It was really excellent. And Marianne Victoria Priola, a clinical psychologist, led the session. And I think she really started with how stressful the nursing workplace is right now. And it's really increased over the last 5 years. And so when boards are presented with cases of negligence or I'll say malpractice, things that fall out of normal practice, to try to imagine the workplace that the nurses are working in, staffing shortages. I think the patient population has gotten more challenging. Nurses are being monitored for productivity on a regular basis, and that all makes it very difficult. I only had 4 copies here. I handed out something that, and this was due to the national, it was the National Service Organization, who receives the malpractice claims against nurses. And it was interesting, that's your table at the top, that failing to follow in nursing practice was about 24% of the claims. Boundary violations, which fell under judgment and boundaries, was 32% of the claims. I know I was surprised by that. Patient abuse, about 9%. Treatment or care failures, about 9%. Documentation errors or omissions was pretty close to 10%. Those didn't really surprise me. She provided clinical diagnoses related to human error and at-risk behaviors. I mean, just anxiety and depression as being a core for some of those, maybe some PTSD or concurrent substance use or abuse. The table at the bottom I thought was really interesting. And she provided that information because she wanted us to consider when we have people that we're not sure of their functioning, whether it's cognitive, psychosocial, a mixture of or a combination of those. She wanted us to consider maybe a clinical evaluation to help determine if the nurse may have some of these personality disorders and or reckless behaviors. she wanted us to know that the antisocial type, and you can see the traits that, I guess I'll read them off for those: criminal activity, lying, conning, impulsive, lack remorse, and highly versatile is probably the most dangerous type of nurse to have, or healthcare practitioner, healthcare practitioner. Okay, so that was day 2. I mean, it was excellent. She really asked us to reflect on our own biases, implicit, explicit, hidden. And there was a term called, you base it based on your own experiences. And I'll get that term, availability bias, that we take our available information and we're biased in our decision-making or our perspective. I thought that was interesting because I think I probably carry some of that. And anyway, that was day 2. Day 3 was regulatory. It was real interesting. The Alabama member, Peggy Benson, she wrote a huge grant. Apparently they've got about 15 or 16 unlicensed, unregulated type care providers in their states. I mean, psych techs to, I don't know, nurse aides, medication aides, student nurse. I mean, that's about 4 or 5 right there, but they have several. So she's trying to get it all into one thing called a nursing support technician certified, NSTC level 1 and 2, where she can standardize the curriculum, the testing, and the licensure is not the word, certification. And again, there'd be a level 1 for basic care, a level 2, like your paramedics could be qualified for a level 2, your existing respiratory care technicians could for a level 2, and they could do more than they can do based on their own certification. It was kind of interesting. I don't know that I understood all of that, but it was an interesting. The Model Act and Rules, Marianne Alexander led that. And they basically are, I mean, I think based on ADA, they're needing to change some of the language within the model rules. Jim Cleghorn did an update of Operation Nightingale. I think the only thing new there was, states are responsible for reviewing. When you get an application in this state, it is our job to review the multiple lists that have come out by the FBI about this. And he enforced that there have been a few licenses that have been rescinded. So licenses were granted. A person with a fraudulent transcript was allowed to take the exam either in our state or another state, and the licenses have been rescinded after it was determined that they had a fraudulent transcript, even though they passed the licensure exam. He also wanted to emphasize, if the nurse had a fraudulent undergrad and then had gone to a graduate school, they're both invalid. So one invalidates the other. The fact that they had done a program, let's use a master's level after a bachelor's, if the bachelor's was fraudulent, both licenses need to be considered.
Right, because the transfer credits with undergrad typically come into the graduate.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And is that the same recommendation from ASN to BSN?
Presumably.
I would think.
I mean, I would think so.
You have to have.
Yeah, that wasn't addressed. And I
It would only affect the
didn't
one
ask
license,
it,
right, as opposed to APR, imagine
Right, 'cause
APRN
APRN
licenses,
has 2
right?
licenses. I mean, I think that's why he made that
Yeah.
point, but I would assume
Yeah,
so, because they probably have their RN based on their AS
yep, correct.
anyway.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Day 4 education, it was mostly about the AACN essentials. It was interesting. UH Manoa has been on this for a couple of years. So through the consortium, they keep us, we have regular meetings with them about what they're doing about AACN essentials and the competencies associated with that. I'm going to end on remote proctoring. Steve Feiger. He's so young. Anyway, he said something like, it's always been computerized. And I'm like, no, it hasn't, Steve. I understand that you were born when it was a pencil and paper test, so it's okay that you don't know that it wasn't always computerized. But anyway, a year ago, when I heard this, I thought, oh, no way, this is never going to happen. But I don't think that anymore. The artificial intelligence is so sophisticated. I mean, so I think it is going to happen where people are going to be taking their licensure exams in their homes. And it's going to require a room. You're going to have certain software on your computer. Your camera is going to have to be on. You're going to have to do this 360 thing and multiple facial recognitions. You're going to have a camera behind you of some kind. They're going to be watching you from the back and from the front. And, there's no talking, there's no drinks, there's no gum. They're watching your eye movement. They're watching your hands, a keystroke. They have a sensor for cameras. So a year ago, we saw this thing like in glasses that there can be a little camera on the front of your lens in there. And they showed this thing like they can see that. That the AI can see or sense the cameras or something like that. So that was very interesting. And I don't know the timeline for it, but, they do keep test security, is at the forefront of the thinking. But I actually do think it's going to happen. It was fascinating to watch. So we ended on that. Nice.
Thanks, Karen.
Yeah, that's
Any questions for Karen about the mid-year meeting? Awesome. Thank you for that. So we'll move on to the Education Committee report.
The Education Committee met on March 3 and would like to make the following recommendations. That we recommend approval for annual reports for the University of Hawaii Maui College, UH Manoa, and their GEPIN program, the Nancy A. Walsh School of Nursing. I mean, that's what it is. Hawaii Pacific University, Chaminade University, Hawaii Community College, and Kapiolani Community College. We also recommend approval from the Nancy A. Walsh School of Nursing faculty for Chloe Hasegawa, Corey Lynn Miyasato, Kellyanne Bayudan, Adriana Bentz. And for Kauai Community College, we recommend approval for Tracy Stogner, Julie Mosley, and Jaslyn Yukimura as faculty. We also recommend Chaminade University, Dr. Lauren Ramaki as recommended approval as a new administrator. We recommend approval of UH Maui College's CNA to PN Bridge program. And Nancy A. Walsh School of Nursing recommend approval for phase 2 report for the DNP in psych mental health nurse practitioner. We'd also like to recommend to the board that they accept Spantran for board approval as a credentials evaluator of foreign educated nurses. Thanks.
Thank you for that report. Is there a motion to accept the Education Committee's report and recommendations?
This is Bradley, so moved.
Thank you, Terrence, for the second. Does any board member wish to vote nay, recuse themselves, or abstain from voting on that motion? Seeing none, hearing none, the ayes have it. The motion carries. Is there any individual who wishes to provide testimony on that agenda item?
We do not have any raised hands.
Thank you, Mark. All right, we'll move on then to our next agenda item, which is our report from the executive officers, the plural, I guess. Alex, is that you? Who is it? Go.
Okay, me first. All right, so amendments to Hawaii Administrative Rules, Chapter 89 relating to nurses, proposed amendments to HJR 16-89-22 pertaining to temporary permits. This is to discuss the public hearing that took place prior to the board's meeting, and for you guys to make a decision. So just to recap, there were 5 testimonies submitted. One from Healthcare Association of Hawaii, bless you, Hawaii Pacific Health, Queens Medical, something like health systems, the Hawaii Center for Nursing, the Hawaii Association of Professional Nurses. No one clearly opposed. They just expressed comments and concerns. The main thing was to request that the board consider including a 10-day processing time. Because my review of Senate Bill 63, which some of the testifiers alluded to, that they wanted to see that language included in your proposed rules. The language in Senate Bill 63 regarding the requirements for the temporary permit was already in your proposed rules, except for the 10-day processing time. Other than that, it was either exactly the same language or similar. Okay, so, yeah. So we can, I need a motion, unless you guys have anything to say.
Discussion?
Yeah, there you go. Questions, concerns. Okay, so FYI. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. Off. Running.
It's gonna be a record of your public hearing. So I just wanted to give a few facts.
Okay.
All right, so currently the process, and which we have not been issuing temporary permits. But if you don't change your rules, the current requirements are, because it's tied to an endorsement application and there's no other further clarification. If you apply for a temporary permit, yes, you have to have your Hawaii employer sign off on it, but you also have to do your NPDB self-report, your nurse's verification, and your criminal background check, which is the same requirements as if you were applying for a permanent license. The both were never tied together. It's just the same requirements. The proposed rules delete the criminal background check and the NPDB. So all we need is to verify that you're currently licensed in another state. The proposed rules also recognizes a multi-state license, which is not how we do it now, okay? There's no 10-day or processing time in the current process, and there's none in the proposed rules, okay? Obviously, after COVID, we were not able to continue processing temporary permits, which we have been in the past. 2017, in December only, that's all the records I have, is 35 were issued, temporary permits. 2018, January through December, 360. 2019 through January through December, 209. And then 2020, January through March, 36. And these are for various facilities, okay, not only one facility. So it comes out to about 30 per month. Those were being processed within 3 to 5 days. And the cost was $50. It was valid for 3 months. The proposed rules extends that to 6 months. I'm sure a person can determine if after 6 months or within that 6 months, if they want to continue to practice in Hawaii, they can apply for a permanent license. So that's the difference between the current process or the current requirements and our proposed requirements.
So I want to clarify, there's I think a presupposition that the existing process is that application for a temporary permit leads automatically into an application for regular licensure. But that's not the case.
Correct.
It's just that the requirements for the application of temporary permit and endorsement application are identical. So we're not actually decoupling anything.
Correct.
Okay.
So,
And, I lost my train of thought. Just as this is not anywhere in the documentation, but there was a previous presupposition that a temporary permit must be applied for in person. That is not the case, correct? Either in the current revision, the current rules or the revision. There's no expectation that a person must apply for a temporary permit in person.
correct.
Okay.
That was never the requirement. The other same requirement besides the nurse's verification is we still need the Hawaii employer to sign off on it. And for the proposed way, I was informed that we will be able to now issue it through our license system. So we will be able to keep track instead of a book of writing it in. So,
Oh, I'm so glad you guys have improved
So-
your processing efficiency.
so we can hopefully just press that button and,
Boom,
yep,
license.
or
Permit.
no, a record of how many we issued per month or whatever.
May I ask one question?
Yes.
About a year ago, the license application went to an online platform. Does that exist for the temp?
Not right now,
Okay,
not right now, because you're gonna need the employer to sign off on it.
Hmm.
So I'm not sure how that's gonna work out.
so you download, print it,
Have them
scan it, send it to the employer, have them sign it, and then forward it to, okay.
Is the online, not the digital, is the online still available?
For the permit?
No, for
The regular
application
application.
license.
Yeah.
So you have your digital, you have the online process that was in effect for whatever, after COVID. Okay, so they might be able to do it that way. But we'll have to check to see if we have to change things to allow them to upload a temporary permit application. Yep.
Okay, any other questions? Discussion?
I entertain a motion.
Is there a motion to approve the revisions to the administrative rules for nursing related to temporary permits?
I'll move.
Is that Terrence?
Yes.
Is there a second?
Sherry, seconds.
Sherry seconds. Does any board member wish to vote nay, recuse themselves, or abstain from voting on this motion? Seeing none, hearing none, the ayes have it, the motion carries. So we approve the rule changes.
So approve
The revision as written.
proposed
Yes,
draft,
yes,
not the revisions recommended by the testifiers.
that is correct.
Okay, just making clear.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next.
Oh. I have to say who testified. Oh, I did that.
You did.
Okay,
Yeah, you did.
all right, Governor Green issued his 10th proclamation, emergency proclamation related to the wildfires, Maui wildfires. It still includes the, waiver of license requirements for out-of-state nurses. And also, provides civil liability for healthcare professionals, including nurses licensed pursuant to chapter 457, who in good faith comply completely with all state and federal orders regarding the wildfire, emergency for any death or injury to persons or property damage allegedly to have been caused by any act or omission by the healthcare professionals while rendering assistance to the state, unless it is established that such death or injury to persons or property damage was caused by willful misconduct, gross negligence, or recklessness of the healthcare professional. I don't think we mentioned that before, but it's been in the past few proclamations.
Cool.
Just want to put that out.
Thank you.
For the random audit, we have 2 boxes full of submissions. I went through half a box. Hopefully by the May meeting, I should have completed my review. And, more specifically how many were okay, some are still under review or some are deficient.
It's the continuing competency
Audit.
correct?
All right, and then I'll turn it over to Alex.
Alex.
Okay, so moving on to the 2024 legislative session updates. First, we have HB 2415, HD2, SD2 we're on, but SD2 is not yet available, following the Senate Committee CPN passing this most recently on 2 days ago, I believe, but SD2 is not yet available. Some of the amendments since we last spoke about this bill include inserting an effective date of July 1st, 2026 to authorize the board to charge different fees customarily and historically charged to registered nurses and licensed practical nurses who hold a multi-state license. Next, SB 2492, SD2. This is another nurse licensure compact bill. It was referred to HLT and LGO back on March 7th, but was never heard. Moving on to HB 20.
Wait, sorry, I don't know the acronyms. I'm
I'm sorry.
sorry, I'm
Is there
in that regard.
let me pull out my,
HLT, what did you say?
Health.
this is health and homelessness,
And
and LGO is labor and government operations.
I did know that. Yes. Thanks.
And moving on to HB 2079 HD2. This was relaxing the requirements for prescribing certain controlled substances as part of gender affirming healthcare services. This was referred to Senate committees, Health and Human Services, Consumer Protection, Judiciary, and Ways and Means on March 7th, but was also never heard. Okay, moving on to HB 1675 HD1 SD1. This was the general excise tax bill for certain facilities and medical practitioners. This one passed the Senate committees of Health and Human Services and Consumer Protection with amendments and was referred to Ways and Means on March 20th. And lastly, yes,
Real quick, another bill to keep in mind is SB 1035, which was a bill that was in process last year. And Finance Committee was the only holdout for the GET bill. And they finally heard the bill yesterday. And it was passed unamended.
okay, thank you for the update.
The only reason why I'm sure it's not on this list is because it was presumed.
Which one?
Right.
So and Finn wouldn't hear it,
Indeed,
but they did indeed hear it yesterday.
gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. And then lastly, HCR 187, HR 167 HD1. This resolution was initially supposed to request that the Department of Health convene a working group to research, assess, and make recommendations on best practices and labor standards that can be implemented at hospitals, care homes, and dialysis facilities in the state. We testified on this measure on March 20th, and basically because this resolution appointed the chair of this board or, a designee to lead the group, we felt we're not really qualified to do that. We don't have any say over facilities, we don't have any expertise in labor standards. And so this resolution has been transformed into a study by the Legislative Reference Bureau and had passed Finn unamended on April 2nd. So that's where we're at with that.
That is a brilliant improvement to that bill.
Agreed.
You need to thank children.
Thank you, Chelsea. Okay, anything else?
No.
Anybody wishing to testify on the executive officer's updates? Any questions from the board? Fine, nobody wants to talk today. All right, our next agenda item is reports from the Hawaii State Center for Nursing, Hawaii Nurses, American Nurses Association, and HAPPN. So do we have anybody wishing to testify from those organizations today? Well, hello, Director Reichart.
Oh, sure. Hi, my name is Laura Reichert. I'm the director of the Hawaii State Center for Nursing. And I don't have many updates. There's a lot of updates that were provided last month by Leanne Hussey. So I just want to give my thanks to her for providing those updates. One exciting thing is that we are going to have our workforce supply report out by the end of the month. The data tables are available. But the supply report always has additional insight and kind of like a reflection about the overall environment. So it's a really valuable report and it is coming soon. Other than that, I want to recognize the great progress that we're making in relation to the nurse residency programs and the specialty transition to practice initiatives. We continue to have nurses trained under the funding that we received through Good Jobs and the DOH opioid grant. And that is significantly changing the professional environment in our state, because for so long, if you wanted to be a specialty nurse, you had to be in the state. So it really is going to be a strong retention tool, and we're very excited about that. And we have several great events that we are planning for the fall. I do want to note that we are having a nursing, like it's a nursing research, evidence-based practice and QI symposium in the fall, and the applications or the submissions for abstracts has been extended. So if anyone is engaging in any of those things and would like to share their work with other nurses in the community, we were going to provide that venue and space, and it will be a wonderful event where the bright minds of nurses will be sharing their great work with each other. So please submit abstracts, and that's it from us.
Any questions for Director Reichert? Thank you. Hawaii A&A.
I don't see anyone.
Anybody representing? Nobody here, and if you're here representing Hawaii A&A, raise your hand for us. Oh, not today, okay,
Just be careful. Fine.
could be. And anybody from Happen?
No, Bradley said, Jeremy will not be available today.
Okay, well, no updates from Happen either. Man, nobody wants to talk to us today. Try not to take that personally. You do. Oh, yeah. That's true. Okay, that then brings us to our next agenda item, which is the discussion of applications. So the board will be considering any applications. So if there's any person here who wishes to provide testimony on your own application or any of the applications, please raise your hand now so we know that you're here. Who do we have?
Judith Arnold, Joanne Oscar, Tamika.
Okay, great. So what will happen? What will happen is that the board will very likely go into executive session to discuss the confidential details of your applications. When the board arrives at your application, if there be questions for you, we will call you in to join us in our executive session. So we will communicate with you as appropriate. Please hang out. It can be kind of a lengthy conversation sometimes in executive session, so please be patient. All right, so that said, is there a motion to enter executive session?
This is Bradley, so moved.
Is there a second?
Parents, so second.
Is there any board member who wishes to vote nay, recuse themselves, or abstain from voting on that motion? Seeing none, hearing none, the ayes have it, the motion carries. We are in executive session. Okay, we are back. Thank you for everybody's patience with us. Okay, at this time, I would like to move to approve the ratification lists for LPNs and RNs as appended to the agenda for this meeting. Is there a second?
Give me the numbers.
Oh, there were 27 LPN applications and, or licenses and 549 RN licenses on the ratification list. That's a lot of licenses, you guys. Okay, is there a second on that motion?
Karen seconds.
Thank you, Karen. Does any board member wish to vote nay, recuse themselves, or abstain from voting on that motion? Seeing none, hearing none, the ayes have it. The motion carries. All right, as we moving on to applications for licensed practical nurses. All right. Based on, okay, is there a motion related to Crystal Miller?
Yes. This is Jill. My motion is to deny this application based on the document submitted and written statement pursuant to 168960, 6C and 7A, also 45712A, 3, 6, and 8.
Is there a second?
Sherry seconds.
Does any board member wish to vote nay, recuse themselves, or abstain from voting on that motion? Seeing none, hearing none, the ayes have it. The motion carries. Is there a motion related to LPN application Queen Freeman?
This is Jill. I'll make a motion to approve Queen Freeman.
Is there a second?
Bradley second.
Thank you, Bradley. Does any board member wish to vote nay, recuse themselves, or abstain from voting on that motion? Seeing none, hearing none, the ayes have it. The motion carries. Is there a motion related to the LPN application for Tamika Nicholson?
This is Jill. I'll make a motion to deny Tamika Nicholson's application based on the documents submitted, oral testimony, and the disciplinary action of the Oregon Board. This is pursuant to 45712A, 1, 3, and 8.
Is there a second?
Karen seconds.
Thank you, Karen. Does any board member wish to vote nay, recuse themselves, or abstain from voting on that motion? Seeing none, hearing none, the ayes have it. The motion carries. Okay, at this time, related to applications for registered nurses, we are deferring the application from Brian Rickard for additional information pursuant to a deficiency letter that he was sent related to an answer on his application. Okay. I also move to approve the license for RN application for applicant Leah Swift, conditioned on her compliance with the monitoring agreement she has with Pu'ululapa'au pursuant to section 436B 19.3. Is there a second?
Bradley seconds.
Thank you, Bradley. Does any board member wish to recuse themselves, vote nay, or abstain from voting on that motion? Seeing none, hearing none, the ayes have it. The motion carries. I also would like to move to approve the RN application for Zipporah Perryman, subject to the receipt, the executive officer's receipt of verification from her employers that she has worked as a registered nurse within the last 5 years. Is there a second?
Jill, I second.
I'll take Jill's second. Thank you very much. Does any board member wish to vote nay, recuse themselves, or abstain from voting on that motion? Seeing none, hearing none, the ayes have it. The motion carries. At this time, I will entertain a motion related to the RN applications for the following: Claudia Manning, Judith Lynn Arnold, Francis Clark, Jennifer Ann McLean, Joanne Oskern, John Fortner, Shauna Gibson, Hallie Love, and Stephen Adams, as well as the APRN application for John Fortner. Is there a motion to approve?
This is Karen, so move.
So moved by Terrence.
Karen seconds.
Karen seconds. Does any board member wish to vote nay, recuse themselves, or abstain from voting on that motion? Seeing none, hearing none, the ayes have it. The motion carries. That concludes the agenda item related to applications. Does anybody wish to provide testimony on that agenda item? I should ask. Great. Okay, next agenda item is a chapter 91. So I move to approve. So I'll move to approve the settlement agreement in the matter of the license for practice nursing of Nicole Linton. As reported in the agenda there. Is there a second?
Jill seconds.
Thank you, Jill. Does any board member wish to vote nay, recuse themselves, or abstain from voting on that motion? Seeing none, hearing none, the ayes have it. The motion carries. And that brings us to the end of our agenda. Our next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, May 2nd, same time, same place. Oh, different time, 9 AM, back to our normal meeting time of 9 AM on that meeting. If any board member is aware that they cannot make that meeting, please advise the executive officers as soon as you know. And with that, we are adjourned. Mahalo, have a great day.